Dr. Marcus Chen stared at the alien ship floating in space through the window of the research vessel Endeavour. The ship looked like it was made of crystal and metal twisted together. Strange blue lights flickered along its surface, but they were getting dimmer by the minute. "Should we help them?" asked Captain Rodriguez, standing beside Marcus at the observation deck. Marcus nodded. "Their distress signal is clear. Someone on that ship is dying." The Endeavour moved closer to the alien craft. Marcus had studied alien biology for 10 years, but he had never seen a ship like this one. The hull seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, and the blue lights looked like veins carrying blood through a living body. When the airlock opened, 3 tall figures stepped onto the Endeavour. They wore armor that looked like it was grown rather than built. Their skin had a silver shine, and their eyes glowed with the same blue light as their ship. Marcus recognized them from the database. They were Zephyrians, one of the most powerful warrior races in the galaxy. The tallest Zephyrian removed his helmet. His face was sharp and angular, with markings that showed his high rank. "I am Commander Zarek of the Royal Guard. We need your help. Our princess is dying." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "What can we do?" "We're just a research ship." Commander Zarek looked directly at Marcus. "You study alien biology, yes? Our princess has a blood disease. Our best doctors cannot fix it. We have asked many races for help, but no one can save her." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. "What kind of blood disease?" "Her blood turns to crystal inside her body. It should flow like water, but it becomes hard like stone. She has maybe 1 day left to live." The Zephyrian led them to their ship. Inside, everything glowed with soft blue light. The walls looked alive, and Marcus could see streams of liquid flowing through transparent tubes. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. They entered a room that looked like a medical bay. On a bed made of the same crystal material as the ship lay a young Zephyrian woman. Her skin was paler than the others, and the blue light in her veins flickered weakly. She was clearly dying. "This is Princess Lyrelei," Commander Zarek said softly. "She is the heir to our empire. Without her, our people will fall into civil war." Marcus moved closer to examine the princess. Her blood was visible through her translucent skin, moving slowly like thick honey instead of flowing freely. In some places he could see crystal formations blocking the flow completely. "Her blood carries information through her body," Commander Zarek explained. "It is how our minds connect to our technology, how we think and feel. When it becomes crystal, she loses pieces of herself." Marcus had never seen anything like it. "What have your doctors tried?" "Everything. We have the best medical technology in the galaxy. We tried blood from our own people, from the hegemony races, from every species we know. Nothing works. Her body rejects everything." Captain Rodriguez pulled Marcus aside. "This isn't our problem, Doctor. We should leave before we get involved in alien politics." But Marcus looked back at the dying princess. She was young, maybe the same age as his sister back on Earth. He could not just walk away. "Let me try something," Marcus said. "I want to test if human blood might be compatible." Commander Zarek shook his head. "Impossible. Humans are too primitive. Your blood is simple compared to ours." "Sometimes simple is better," Marcus replied. "Let me at least try." The Zephyrian doctors brought their equipment. Marcus sat beside the princess and let them take a sample of his blood. They mixed it with a drop of her blood in a small crystal container. What happened next shocked everyone in the room. The crystal formation in the princess's blood began to dissolve. The blue light grew brighter and the thick liquid started to flow smoothly again. But there was more. Marcus's red human blood began to glow with the same blue light as the princess's blood. "Impossible," whispered one of the Zephyrian doctors. Commander Zarek stared at the container. "How is this happening?" Marcus felt excited and scared at the same time. "I don't know. But it's working." The princess's eyes opened slowly. They glowed brighter than before. She looked at Marcus with surprise and curiosity. "Who are you?" she asked in perfect English, though Marcus knew she had never learned human languages. "I'm Dr. Marcus Chen from Earth," he said. She smiled weakly. "I can hear your thoughts, Dr. Chen. That should not be possible." Marcus felt a strange connection form in his mind. He could sense the princess's emotions, her pain, and her amazement. It was like having a new sense he never knew existed. "We need to do a full transfusion," said the Zephyrian doctor. "But this is very dangerous. We don't know what will happen to either of you." Marcus looked at the princess. Through their strange connection, he could feel her fear of dying and her hope for survival. He also felt something else. a vision of terrible creatures in space moving toward the galaxy like a dark wave. "I'll do it," Marcus said. Captain Rodriguez grabbed his arm. "Marcus, think about this. You could die." "She's going to die for sure if I don't try," Marcus replied. "And I think her death might mean something worse for all of us." The transfusion took 3 hours. Marcus lay on a bed next to the princess as machines moved his blood into her body, and her blood into his. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Marcus felt electricity running through his veins. The princess gasped and sat up suddenly. Her skin glowed brighter than any Zephyrian Marcus had ever seen. The blue light in her blood was so bright it was almost white. "I feel different," she said. She looked at her hands and small sparks of electricity danced between her fingers. Stronger. More aware, Marcus felt different too. He could sense the electronic systems on the ship around him. He could feel the thoughts of everyone in the room, though not as clearly as he could sense the princess. Commander Zarak knelt beside the princess's bed. "Your Highness, how do you feel?" She stood up, moving with grace and power that seemed impossible for someone who had been dying minutes before. "I feel like I have been reborn, Commander. Dr. Chen's blood has not just healed me. It has changed me." She turned to Marcus. "And I believe it has changed you as well." Marcus could indeed feel the changes. His mind felt sharper, his senses stronger. But more importantly, he could feel a constant connection to the princess as if they now shared part of the same soul. "What does this mean?" asked Captain Rodriguez. Princess Lirelei looked out the window at the stars. Through their connection, Marcus felt her see something far away, a darkness moving between the stars, consuming everything in its path. "It means," she said slowly, "that this was not an accident. The universe has brought us together for a reason. Something terrible is coming, and we will need each other to face it." Marcus felt the truth of her words through their bond. Whatever had just happened between them was bigger than saving one life. It was the beginning of something that would change the galaxy forever. The princess looked at him with her glowing eyes. "Dr. Chen, I hope you are ready for what comes next. Because after today, nothing will ever be the same." 3 weeks after the transfusion, Marcus Chen was no longer just a simple doctor. News of what happened had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Every major species now knew that human blood had somehow saved and enhanced a Zephyrian princess. Marcus stood in the medical bay of the Zephyrian flagship, watching Princess Lirelei demonstrate her new abilities to a group of amazed scientists. She held her hand over a broken piece of technology, and blue energy flowed from her fingers into the device. The machine sparked to life, working better than it ever had before. "Incredible," said Dr. Valen, the chief Zephyrian scientist. "Your Highness can now interface directly with any technology. No Zephyrian in history has ever been able to do this." The princess turned to Marcus. Even across the room, he could feel her emotions through their strange bond. She was excited but also worried. "Show them the other thing," Marcus said. Princess Lirelei closed her eyes and concentrated. The lights in the room dimmed as she reached out with her enhanced senses. "There are 17 ships approaching from the outer system. They will arrive in 4 hours. Their energy signatures match hegemony vessels." Dr. Valen checked his instruments. "The sensors show nothing, Your Highness." "Trust me," she said. "They are coming." Marcus had learned not to doubt her new abilities. Over the past weeks, the princess had shown she could sense things across vast distances, communicate with technology as if it were alive, and even predict events before they happened. But the abilities came with a price. Marcus felt it too through their connection. The enhancement was slowly changing both of them. Sometimes he would know things he had never learned or feel emotions that were not his own. 4 hours later, 17 hegemony ships appeared exactly where the princess had predicted. Their arrival was not peaceful. "Attention, Zephyrian vessel," came a cold voice over the communication system. "You are harboring a biological contaminant. Surrender the human immediately for containment and study." Commander Zarak stood at attention beside the princess. "Your Highness, what are your orders?" Princess Lirelei looked at Marcus. Through their bond, he felt her anger and determination. "Tell them that Dr. Chen is under the protection of the Zephyrian Empire. Any attempt to take him will be considered an act of war." The hegemony response was swift. Energy beams lanced out from their ships, striking the Zephyrian vessel's shields. The battle had begun. Marcus watched the fight from the bridge, feeling helpless as explosions lit up space around them. The Zephyrian ship was powerful, but it was outnumbered. "We cannot win this fight," Commander Zarek reported. "We must retreat." But Princess Lyralee had a different idea. She placed her glowing hands on the ship's control system. "Dr. Chen, I need you to help me. Our connection might let us do something impossible." Marcus approached her cautiously. "What do you mean?" "Touch the controls with me. Let our minds work together." When Marcus placed his hands beside hers on the control panel, everything changed. Suddenly he could feel the entire ship as if it were part of his own body. He could sense every system, every weapon, every piece of technology. Together, they reached out beyond their ship and touched the minds of the Zephyrian crew. Through the princess's enhanced abilities and Marcus's strange human adaptability, they created a connection between every person on the ship. The effect was immediate. The Zephyrian crew began working together with perfect coordination. Gunners fired at the exact right moment, pilots moved in perfect harmony, and engineers fixed problems before they became critical. The tide of battle turned. One by one, the hegemony ships fell to the perfectly coordinated attacks of the single Zephyrian vessel. When the last enemy ship retreated, the crew stared at Marcus and the princess in amazement and fear. "What did you do to us?" asked one of the gunners. Princess Lyralee looked tired but proud. "We showed you what is possible when minds work as one. But don't worry, the connection is temporary." Later, in the princess's private chambers, Marcus sat across from her feeling confused and worried. "Lyralee, what is happening to us?" he asked. "I can feel myself changing every day." She nodded sadly. "I feel it too. The enhancement is not finished with us yet. But Marcus, I have seen something terrible in my visions, something that makes these changes necessary." Through their bond, she shared what she had seen. A wave of darkness moving through space, consuming entire planets. Creatures that ate not just bodies but souls, leaving nothing behind but empty void. "The Void Swarm," she whispered. "They destroyed my ancestors' home galaxy long ago. Now they are coming here." Marcus felt cold fear run through him. "How long do we have?" "Maybe a year, maybe less." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "But I think our connection, this enhancement, might be the key to stopping them." "How?" "Your human blood does something impossible, Marcus. It makes other species stronger, better than they ever were before. If we could find a way to share this gift safely." Marcus understood. "You want to enhance other species like you were enhanced. Not just me. Volunteers from every race working together with enhanced humans as coordinators. An army unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." It sounded incredible and terrifying at the same time, but we don't know if it's safe. The process could kill people. Princess Lyralee turned back to him. "The Void Swarm will definitely kill people. Billions of them. We have to try." Over the following days, Marcus worked with Zephyrian scientists to understand what had happened during the transfusion. They discovered that human blood contained something unique, a biological property that could adapt to and enhance other life forms. "It's like your blood is a universal key," Dr. Valen explained. "It can unlock hidden potential in any species." But the process was dangerous. Early experiments with volunteers showed that the enhancement could burn out a person's system if not done carefully. Some died, others were permanently changed in ways they didn't expect. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility crushing him. People were risking their lives because of something in his blood that he didn't understand. "It's not your fault," Princess Lyralee said one evening as they shared their thoughts through their bond. "The universe brought us together for this purpose. How can you be sure?" She smiled sadly. "Because I can see the alternatives in my visions. Without this enhancement, without our connection, everyone dies when the Void Swarm arrives. With it, some of us might survive." News of the enhancement experiments reached the Hegemony Council. Their response was swift and brutal. They declared humans a Class Alpha biological hazard and began hunting down human ships throughout the galaxy. Marcus watched the reports with growing horror. Entire human colonies were being attacked. His own people were being captured and taken away for experimentation. "We have to do something," he told the princess. "We are doing something," she replied, "but it will take time. The enhancement process must be perfected before the Void Swarm arrives." Commander Zarek entered their laboratory with urgent news. "Your Highness, we have received a communication from Earth. The human government wants to negotiate." Marcus felt hope and fear in equal measure. "What do they want?" "They want to understand what happened to you, Dr. Chen. and they want to know if humanity has a future in this galaxy. Princess Lyrelei squeezed Marcus's hand. Then we must show them. We must prove that humans are not just valuable for their blood, but for their courage and wisdom as well. As they prepared for the most important meeting of their lives, Marcus realized that everything he had ever known was about to change. The simple act of donating blood to save a dying princess had made him the center of a galactic crisis. But through his bond with Princess Lyrelei, he also felt something else: hope. Together, they might find a way to save not just humanity but every living thing in the galaxy. The meeting with Earth's government took place on a neutral space station in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Marcus Chen sat at a large table, feeling nervous as he faced the most powerful people from his homeworld. President Williams looked tired and worried. "Dr. Chen, what you've done has put all of humanity at risk. The hegemony is hunting our people across the galaxy." Marcus felt Princess Lyrelei's support through their bond, even though she waited on her ship nearby. "I understand that, Madam President. But I also know that something worse is coming. This void swarm you've told us about," said General Harrison. "How do we know it's real?" Marcus closed his eyes and reached out through his enhanced senses. The ability still felt strange, but it was getting stronger every day. "Because I can feel them at the edge of the galaxy. They're like a cold darkness eating everything in their path." Secretary of Defense Martinez leaned forward. "Even if that's true, why should we trust aliens? The Zephyrians could be using you." "Show them," came Princess Lyrelei's voice in Marcus's mind. Marcus stood up and placed his hand on the table's control panel. The room's holographic display activated, showing a map of the galaxy. Dark spots appeared at the outer edge, growing larger each day. "The void swarm has already consumed 3 solar systems," Marcus said. "In 6 months, they'll reach the core worlds. In a year, they'll be here." The room fell silent as the leaders stared at the advancing darkness. President Williams spoke first. "What exactly are you proposing, Dr. Chen?" "An alliance. Humans working with other species to create enhanced warriors who can fight the swarm. But we need volunteers, and we need them to understand the risks." "What risks?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's top geneticist. Marcus felt a flash of pain through his bond with the princess. "The enhancement process is dangerous. Some people die, others are changed forever. And even if it works, the enhanced abilities might burn out after a few years." General Harrison slammed his hand on the table. "You're asking us to sacrifice our people for aliens who were hunting us just weeks ago." "I'm asking you to save the galaxy," Marcus replied quietly. "Including Earth." The debate continued for hours. Some leaders wanted to hide Earth and hope the crisis would pass. Others wanted to surrender humans to the hegemony to stop the attacks. A few, like Dr. Kim, were curious about the enhancement process. Finally, President Williams called for a break. Marcus stepped outside the meeting room and contacted Princess Lyrelei through their mental link. "They're scared," he told her. "They should be," she replied. "But fear can make people do brave things too." When the meeting resumed, Dr. Kim had prepared a presentation. "I've been analyzing the data you provided, Dr. Chen. This enhancement process could revolutionize medicine and biology. But I need to understand something. Why are human genetics so special?" Marcus had wondered the same thing. "The Zephyrian scientists think it's because humans evolved under unique conditions. Earth's magnetic field, the cosmic radiation we were exposed to. Maybe even the way we developed as a social species. We're like biological bridges that can connect with other life forms." "And this connection goes both ways?" President Williams asked. "Yes. When I enhance someone, I feel their thoughts and emotions. They become part of a larger network." General Harrison looked alarmed. "You're talking about mind control." "No," Marcus said firmly. "It's more like shared consciousness. Everyone keeps their free will, but they can work together perfectly when needed." The princess's voice whispered in his mind. "The hegemony ships are approaching. We need to end this meeting soon." Marcus stood up. "We don't have much time. The hegemony is coming here to capture me and any humans who might volunteer for enhancement." Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Through the windows they could see hegemony warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "Attention, humans," came a broadcast over the station's speakers. "Surrender Dr. Marcus Chen and all research related to biological enhancement. You have 10 minutes to comply." President Williams turned to Marcus. "Can you get us out of this?" Marcus nodded. but I'll need your permission to temporarily enhance your security forces." The president looked at General Harrison, who shrugged. "We're dead anyway if those ships start shooting." Marcus quickly contacted the station's security chief. 20 volunteers stepped forward, knowing the risks. One by one, Marcus touched their hands and shared a small portion of his enhancement with them. The effect was immediate. The enhanced security team began moving with perfect coordination. They could sense each other's thoughts and positions, anticipate each other's actions, and work together like parts of a single organism. When the hegemony forces tried to board the station, they met resistance unlike anything they had ever encountered. The enhanced humans fought with impossible teamwork, always knowing where the next attack would come from. But the real surprise came when Princess Lyrelai's ship arrived. She had brought a small fleet of Zephyrian vessels, but they were outnumbered 10-1 by the hegemony forces. "Marcus," the princess called through their bond. "Link with me. Let's show them what we can really do." Marcus reached out across space, feeling for the princess's mind. When their consciousness touched, their combined power expanded beyond anything either had experienced alone. Through their link, they connected with every enhanced human on the station and every Zephyrian in the fleet. For a brief moment, hundreds of minds worked as one. The battle was over in minutes. The combined fleet moved with such perfect coordination that the hegemony forces couldn't respond effectively. Most of their ships were disabled rather than destroyed. The enhanced network had no desire for unnecessary killing. As the hegemony fleet retreated, President Williams stared at Marcus with new understanding. "You really can save us," she said quietly. "We can save each other," Marcus corrected. "But only if we work together." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "I volunteer to be enhanced. If we're going to do this, we need scientists who understand the process." Over the next hour, more volunteers came forward. Some were soldiers, others were doctors or engineers. Each person who was enhanced added their skills and knowledge to the growing network. But the process took its toll. Marcus felt the strain of maintaining connections with so many people. His hands shook and he could taste blood in his mouth. "The network is getting too large," Princess Lyrelai warned through their bond. "You need to rest." President Williams saw Marcus's condition and called for an end to the enhancement session. "We have enough volunteers for now. The rest will have to wait." As the volunteers learned to control their new abilities, Marcus retreated to a quiet room with the princess. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what was happening. "Are we doing the right thing?" he asked her. Princess Lyrelai took his hand. "I don't know, but I know what happens if we do nothing. I've seen it in my visions." Through their bond, she showed him images of dead worlds, empty space where civilizations used to exist, and the cold hunger of the void swarm as it consumed everything in its path. "Then we keep going," Marcus said. "No matter what it costs us." The princess squeezed his hand. Together. As they prepared to leave the space station, Marcus realized that they had crossed a line. Humanity was now committed to this path, for better or worse. The enhancement network would grow, more people would volunteer, and eventually, they would face the void swarm in a battle that would determine the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. But for the first time since this all began, Marcus felt hope. Humans and aliens working together, sharing their strengths and supporting each other's weaknesses. It was exactly what the galaxy needed to survive what was coming. The real test would be whether they could build their alliance fast enough to make a difference when the darkness finally arrived. 8 months had passed since the meeting at the space station. Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Alliance, watching the largest fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. Ships from dozens of species floated in formation, their crews working together through the enhancement network he and Princess Lyrelai had created. The void swarm had arrived at the edge of civilized space 3 days ago. Already 2 entire solar systems had gone dark. The ancient enemy moved like a living shadow, consuming everything in their path and leaving only empty void behind. "Status report," Marcus said to his enhanced crew. Commander Torres, one of the first humans to volunteer for enhancement, touched her control panel. Through the network, her thoughts flowed to every ship in the fleet. "All vessels ready, sir. Enhanced crews report perfect coordination. Weapon systems are functioning at optimal levels." Marcus felt the presence of thousands of minds in the network. Humans, Zephyrians, Centaurians, even former hegemony species who had joined the Alliance when they realized the true threat. Each person brought their unique abilities to the collective, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Princess Lyrelai approached, her blue skin glowing brighter than ever. The enhancement had continued to change her over the months, making her more powerful but also more alien. Sometimes Marcus worried they were becoming something other than what they used to be. "The forward scouts report contact with swarm advance units," she said. "They're moving faster than we expected." Through their bond, Marcus felt her fear, not for herself, but for all the worlds that lay defenseless behind them. "How long until they reach the core systems?" 3 days if we don't stop them here." Marcus nodded and opened his mind to the entire fleet. When he spoke, every enhanced crew member heard his words directly in their consciousness. "This is our moment," he said. "Everything we've worked for, everything we've sacrificed has led to this battle. The enemy we face has destroyed entire galaxies. They think nothing can stop them. Let's prove them wrong." The response came back through the network, not words but pure emotion. Determination, courage, and hope flowing from thousands of minds. Marcus felt strengthened by their combined will. The first swarm ships appeared as dark spots against the stars. They looked like living things rather than spacecraft, organic shapes that pulsed with sickly light. As they moved closer, Marcus could feel their hunger through the enhancement network. They didn't just want to destroy, they wanted to consume and absorb everything they touched. "All ships, begin attack pattern Alpha," Princess Lyrelai commanded. The Alliance fleet moved with impossible precision. Enhanced crews anticipated each other's actions perfectly, creating a dance of destruction that no enemy could predict. Energy beams and missiles struck the swarm ships from multiple angles, coordinated to the split second. But the swarm adapted quickly. The dark ships began moving in patterns that seemed random, but somehow avoided most of the attacks. Worse, when swarm ships were destroyed, the wreckage dissolved into black mist that spread toward the Alliance fleet. "It's trying to infect our ships," reported Dr. Kim, now serving as the fleet's chief scientist. "The swarm doesn't just destroy, it converts matter into more of itself." Marcus felt a chill run through the network. "All ships maintain distance from destroyed swarm vessels. Don't let that mist touch you." The battle continued for hours. The Alliance fleet's coordination gave them an advantage, but the swarm seemed endless. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more appeared from the depths of space. As the fighting intensified, Marcus noticed something troubling. The enhanced crew members were showing signs of strain. Some collapsed at their posts, overwhelmed by the mental load of the network. Others began acting strangely, their personalities starting to merge with the collective consciousness. "Marcus," Princess Lyrelai said through their private bond, "the network is becoming unstable. We're asking too much of it." He could feel it too. The constant mental connection was burning out the enhanced individuals. Some might survive, but many would die or be permanently changed by the experience. "We need to end this quickly," he replied. Through the network, he sensed a new presence. Something vast and ancient was approaching from the heart of the swarm. When it arrived, Marcus finally understood what they were truly fighting. The Void Swarm wasn't just a collection of creatures. It was the remnant of an entire civilization that had chosen to merge into a single, collective consciousness millions of years ago. They had given up their individual minds to become something that could survive the death of their galaxy. But in doing so, they had become parasites that needed to consume other civilizations to continue existing. "They're just like us," Princess Lyrelai whispered through their bond. "Enhanced beings who went too far." Marcus felt the terrible truth of her words. The enhancement network that gave the Alliance its strength was walking the same path that had created the Void Swarm. If they weren't careful, they could become the very thing they were fighting. The swarm's central intelligence spoke to them then, not through words but directly into their minds. Its voice was like the sound of dying stars. "You understand now," it said. "We were like you once, individual beings working together, but survival required sacrifice. We became one mind, one purpose. Join us willingly and we will spare your worlds." "Never," Marcus replied, speaking for the entire Alliance. "We won't become monsters to survive. Then you will be consumed like all the others." The swarm's main force arrived, thousands of ships that moved like a single organism. The Alliance fleet was outnumbered 100 to 1, but Marcus had an idea. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance. "Everyone listen," he said to the network. I'm going to try something that could save us or destroy us. I need you to trust me." He reached deep into the enhancement network, touching every connected mind in the fleet. But instead of using their combined power to fight, he began to show them something else. He shared his memories of Earth, green forests, blue oceans, children playing in parks. He showed them what they were fighting to protect. Princess Lyrelei understood immediately and added her own memories. Beautiful crystal cities on Zephyria, ancient libraries filled with knowledge, families celebrating together under alien suns. One by one, every species in the Alliance began sharing their own memories. The network filled with images of homeworlds, loved ones, art and music and literature from a dozen different civilizations. The effect was unexpected. Instead of becoming a collective consciousness like the swarm, the network became something new, a celebration of diversity and individual choice. Each person remained themselves while sharing in the beauty of all the others. The change in the network created a change in their weapons and ships. Energy beams that had been simple tools of destruction began carrying something else. The essence of life itself, the creative force that builds rather than consumes. When these new weapons struck the swarm ships, something incredible happened. Instead of being destroyed, the swarm began to remember what they had lost. Individual consciousness started returning to the collective. Some swarm ships stopped attacking and began to break apart, not from damage but from the return of individual will. The swarm's central intelligence screamed in rage and confusion. "What are you doing to us?" "Giving you back yourselves," Marcus replied. The battle turned into something unprecedented. Half the swarm fleet had broken away from the collective, their crews remembering who they had been before the merger. The other half fought desperately to maintain their unified consciousness. In the end, the Void Swarm defeated itself. The return of individual thought to their collective mind created a civil war that tore their forces apart. Some ships fled back to the void between galaxies. Others surrendered, their crews begging for help and remembering how to be individuals again. As the immediate threat ended, Marcus felt the enhancement network beginning to stabilize. The shared experience of the battle had taught them how to maintain their connection without losing themselves. Princess Lyrelei collapsed beside him, exhausted but alive. "Is it over?" Marcus looked out at the mixed fleet of Alliance and former swarm ships. "This part is, but now we have to figure out how to help them remember how to live as individuals again." The real work was just beginning. 1 year after the battle with the Void Swarm, Marcus Chen stood in the gardens of New Geneva, a space station that had become the capital of the Galactic Alliance. Around him, beings from dozens of species worked together, their differences celebrated rather than feared. The enhancement network had evolved far beyond anything he had originally imagined. Instead of forcing people to think alike, it had become a way for different species to understand and appreciate each other while remaining true to themselves. Princess Lyrelei approached through the garden, but she looked different now. The intense blue glow had faded to a soft silver light, and her movements were more graceful, less alien. The enhancement process had stabilized, allowing her to control her abilities rather than being controlled by them. "The council meeting is about to begin," she said, taking his hand. Marcus nodded. Today they would make a decision that would shape the future of the galaxy. The enhancement technology had proven itself in battle, but its long-term effects were still being studied. They walked together to the council chamber, where representatives from hundreds of worlds waited. Some were enhanced, others had chosen to remain in their natural state. The network allowed them to understand each other perfectly, but the final decisions were still made by individual choice. President Williams, now Earth's representative to the Alliance, stood to address the gathering. She had been enhanced 6 months ago and said it had given her a deeper understanding of her own humanity, not less. "Friends and allies," she began, "we gather today to decide the future of the enhancement program. Should we continue to offer this gift to others, or should we restrict it to prevent the mistakes of the past?" The debate that followed was unlike anything Marcus had ever witnessed. Through the network, he could feel the emotions and thoughts of every participant, fear mixed with hope, caution balanced against excitement, wisdom tempered with compassion. Commander Zarak, now an admiral in the Alliance fleet, spoke for the Zephyrian Empire. The enhancement has made us stronger, but it has also made us more responsible. We cannot make this choice for others, but we must offer them the option. Dr. Kim, whose research had helped perfect the enhancement process, presented her findings. The procedure is now safe when performed correctly. The risk of death has been reduced to less than 1%, and we've learned to prevent the loss of individual consciousness that created the Void Swarm. But not everyone supported continued enhancement. Elder Thorn of the Centaurian Republic raised concerns that had troubled many people. "What are we becoming?" he asked. "Each generation more enhanced than the last, each step taking us further from our original selves. Where does it end?" Marcus felt the weight of the question through the network. It was something he thought about every day. The enhancement had saved the galaxy, but it had also changed everyone involved in ways they were still discovering. A former swarm entity, now calling herself Echo, spoke from her place in the council. She was one of the first to break free from the collective and had become a bridge between the old swarm civilization and the new alliance. "I remember what it was like to lose ourselves," she said, her voice carrying the wisdom of ages. "The enhancement offers connection without consumption, unity without uniformity. But the choice must always remain with the individual." Princess Lirelai stood to address the council. Through their bond, Marcus felt her certainty and compassion. "The enhancement is not about becoming something other than what we are," she said. "It's about becoming the best version of ourselves." When Marcus shared his blood with me, he didn't make me human. He helped me become more truly Zephyrian than I had ever been before. As the debate continued, Marcus found himself thinking about his own journey. The scared doctor who had volunteered for a dangerous transfusion was gone, replaced by someone who understood his place in the larger web of life that connected all things. But he was still human. If anything, the enhancement had made him more aware of what that meant. The curiosity that drove him to help a dying alien, the compassion that made him volunteer for unknown risks, the stubbornness that refused to give up even when facing impossible odds. When his turn came to speak, Marcus stood slowly. The chamber fell silent as hundreds of minds focused on his words. "I didn't ask to become enhanced," he said. "I just wanted to save someone who was dying. But this journey has taught me something important. The enhancement doesn't change who we are. It reveals who we were meant to be." He gestured to the diverse assembly around him. "Look at us. Humans and Zephyrians, former enemies and new allies, even beings who used to be our destroyers. We're all different, but we're all connected. The enhancement didn't make us the same. It helped us understand that our differences make us stronger." Through the network, he shared his vision for the future. Not a galaxy where everyone was enhanced, but one where the choice was available to those who wanted it. A universe where different species could truly understand each other while remaining proudly themselves. The vote was closer than expected, but in the end, the council decided to continue the enhancement program with strict safeguards. No one would be forced to undergo the process, and extensive counseling would be provided to help people understand what they were choosing. As the council session ended, Marcus and Princess Lirelai walked back through the gardens. Around them, enhanced and unenhanced beings worked side by side, each contributing their unique gifts to the growing civilization. "Do you ever regret it?" the princess asked. "Everything that's happened since that day on your ship?" Marcus considered the question seriously. The enhancement had cost him his old life, his simple existence as a research scientist. It had brought danger, responsibility, and changes he was still learning to understand. But it had also brought him purpose, connection, and the knowledge that he had helped save not just one life, but billions of them. "No," he said finally. "I don't regret it. Though I do wonder what comes next." Princess Lirelai smiled. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." As they reached the observation deck, Marcus looked out at the ships in the harbor. Human vessels worked alongside Zephyrian crystal ships, while former swarm entities shared their ancient knowledge with young scientists from a dozen worlds. In the distance, he could see new exploration ships preparing to launch. The galaxy was vast, and there were still mysteries to discover, new civilizations to meet, and challenges to overcome. Some of those future explorers would be enhanced, others would be in their natural state. All of them would carry the knowledge that diversity was strength, that cooperation was more powerful than conquest, and that sometimes the greatest gift you could give was simply helping someone in need. Marcus felt the enhancement network humming quietly in his mind, connecting him to friends and allies across the galaxy. It was no longer the desperate tool of war it had been during the swarm crisis. Now it was simply part of who they were, a way for different species to share in each other's experiences while celebrating what made each of them unique. The young doctor who had donated blood to save an alien princess could never have imagined what would follow. But the man he had become understood that every great change in the universe began with a simple choice to help someone else. As new ships launched toward distant stars, carrying the message of the Alliance to unexplored worlds, Marcus smiled. The future was uncertain, but it was bright with possibility. And somewhere in the network, he could feel the gratitude of billions of beings who had been given a chance to remain themselves while becoming part of something larger. The enhancement had given them the galaxy. Now it was up to them to decide what to do with it.